Welcome back. By the end of the last episode, Iran was everywhere and nowhere in particular. Its language shaped courts from Anatolia to India. Its literature traveled across empires. Its cultural influence was vast, but politically Iran itself was fragmented. There was no single state that clearly defined what Iran was. No unified structure that tied together territory, religion, and authority in a lasting way. That all changes in the early 16th century with the rise of the Safavids. The Safavid dynasty begins not as a conventional ruling house, but as a Sufi order. Its origins lie in a religious movement based in Ardabil in northwestern Iran. Over generations, this order develops a following that is both spiritual and military. By the time the Shah Ismail I emerges at the beginning of the 16th century, this following has become a powerful force. In 1501, Ismail captures Tabriz and declares himself Shah. This isn't just a political victory, it's the beginning of a transformation, because the Safavids do something that no Iranian dynasty has done in quite this way before. They fuse authority with a specific institutionalized religious identity, Twelver Shi'ism. Before this point, most of the Islamic world, including much of Iran, has been predominantly Sunni. Shi'ism existed, but often as a minority tradition, sometimes marginal, sometimes politically suppressed. The Safavids reverse that balance. They actively promote Twelver Shi'ism as the official religion of the state. This isn't a passive process, it involves conversion campaigns, the establishment of religious institutions, the importation of scholars from other Shia regions, such as southern Iraq and Lebanon, and over time all this produces a significant shift in the religious landscape of Iran. Shi'ism becomes not just a belief system, but a marker of collective identity. Now this has several consequences. First, it distinguishes Iran from its neighbours. To the west, the Ottoman Empire is Sunni. To the east, various Sunni and mixed polities dominate. By aligning itself with Shi'ism, Safavid Iran defines itself in contrast to these surrounding powers. Second, it creates a closer relationship between religious authority and political authority. The Shah isn't merely a ruler, he's also, in some sense, a protector and a promoter of a particular religious truth. Again, this echoes earlier patterns we've seen. The Achaemenids linking kingship to Asha, the Sasanians aligning rule with Zoroastrian order. Once again, moral and cosmic language is tied to political power. But now it's expressed through an Islamic, specifically Shi'i, framework. At the same time, the Safavids invest heavily in the material expression of their vision. This is where Isfahan comes in. Under Shah Abbas I in the late 16th and early 17th centuries, the capital is moved to Isfahan and transformed. The city is redesigned on a grand scale. At its centre is the Naksh-i-Jahan Square, a vast open space surrounded by key institutions of Safavid life. The Shah Mosque with its intricate tilework and monumental dome. The Sheikh Lutfollah Mosque, more intimate but no less refined. The Al-Kabu Palace, representing royal authority. And the bazaar, linking economic life to the rest of the urban fabric. This isn't just urban planning, it's a statement. Religion, commerce and kingship are placed in deliberate relationship to one another. The city becomes a microcosm of the Safavid order. Art flourishes alongside architecture. Persian carpets become highly sophisticated, not just as functional objects, but as works of design and symbolism. Miniature painting develops further, combining earlier Persian traditions with new influences. Calligraphy, already central in Islamic culture, reaches new levels of refinement. And all of this contributes to a sense of coherence, a recognizable style, a shared aesthetic that reinforces identity. So by this point, something important has been achieved. Iran, once again, is a defined entity, not just culturally influential, as in the Persianate period, but politically and religiously distinct. This Safavid synthesis, state, Shiism and Persian culture, creates a framework that will last long after the dynasty itself declines. And decline it does. By the 18th century, the Safavid state weakens under internal strain and external pressure. It eventually collapses, giving way to a period of instability, followed by new dynasties. The Afsharids, the Zands, and eventually the Qajars. These later states maintain the territorial idea of Iran, but often struggle with effective centralization. By the 19th century, Iran finds itself in a difficult position. It's caught between expanding imperial powers, especially Russia to the north and Britain to the south. It faces military defeats, territorial losses, and increasing foreign influence. And this introduces a new dynamic. For the first time in its long history, Iran isn't just negotiating internal diversity or regional rivals, it's confronting a global system dominated by industrialized European powers. This pressure leads to attempts at reform, administrative changes, military modernization, efforts to centralize authority more effectively. But all these reforms are uneven. They often generate resistance as well as support. In the early 20th century, this tension produces a significant political development, the Constitutional Revolution of 1905 to 1911. This movement seeks to limit royal authority, establish a parliament, and create a legal framework for governance. It introduces new ideas, constitutionalism, representation, rule of law into the Iranian political vocabulary. But it doesn't fully resolve the underlying tension between monarchy, religious authority, and popular participation. Those tensions continue well into the 20th century. Under the Pahlavi dynasty, especially Reza Shah and later Mohammad Reza Shah, the state pursues a program of rapid modernization. Infrastructure expands, education systems develop, there is an emphasis on centralization, secularization, and the projection of a strong national identity. Pre-Islamic Iran, especially the Achaemenid period, is often highlighted as a source of pride. But this process also creates a strain. Modernism isn't evenly distributed. Political power becomes increasingly concentrated. Religious institutions, while not eliminated, are often sidelined. And for many, the pace and the direction of change feels imposed rather than organic. And by the 1970s, these tensions reach a breaking point. And this brings us to one of the most important moments in modern Iranian history, the revolution of 1979. And at first glance, the revolution can seem like a sudden rupture. Mass protests, collapse of the monarchy, the return of the Ayatollah Khomeini from exile, the establishment of an Islamic republic. But if we look at it through the longer lens of this series, it also appears as something else, a reconfiguration of older patterns. The revolution brings religion back to the center of political life, not in the same form as the Safavids, and certainly not as a simple continuation of Zoroastrian or earlier traditions. But the underlying idea that political authority should be grounded in a moral and religious framework returns with force. Khomeini's concept of velayat-i-faqih, the guardianship of the jurist, places religious scholars at the core of the state. This creates a system in which elected institutions exist, but are embedded within a broader structure of religious oversight. It's not a traditional monarchy, it's not a secular republic, it's something hybrid. And that hybridity isn't entirely new. Throughout Iranian history, we've seen different attempts to balance structure and flexibility, authority and legitimacy, moral order and political power. And the Islamic Republic represents another version of that balancing act. But at the same time, the revolution is also distinctly modern. It unfolds in a world shaped by global media, Cold War politics, and mass mobilization. Its rhetoric draws not only on religious language, but also on ideas of anti-imperialism, social justice, national sovereignty. In the decades that follow, Iran continues to evolve. There are internal debates about reform and conservatism. There are shifts in policy, moments of opening and moments of restriction. And alongside all of this, a vibrant cultural life persists. Literature, cinema, art, often engaging critically with both past and present. What we see, if we step back, isn't a civilization frozen in time, but one that continues to negotiate its identity, still shaped by the same deep patterns, a concern with moral order, a tension between different sources of authority, an ability to absorb external influences while maintaining a sense of continuity. From Iran to the Indo-Iranians, from Zoroaster to the Achaemenids, from the Parthians and Sasanians to the Persianate world, from the Safavids to the modern state, Iran has never been a single unchanging thing. It's been a process, layered, adaptive, sometimes contradictory, but remarkably continuous. And that's what we mean by the Persian soul, not a fixed essence, but a way of holding together past and present, movement and structure, belief and power over thousands of years. Whatever happens next in Iran's history, I hope that this series has given you at least some of the context to what happens. I hope you've enjoyed the series. I've certainly enjoyed researching it and learning more about the history of Iran, but for now, thanks for joining me and have a great day.